This is a relatively minor error that hasn't really come up too often yet on the tests they've released, but it was a fixture of the old SAT grammar, so I think it bears some instruction here, and if they go in more detail on this on future tests, I'll do more videos on this. But just to get it out of the way, let's take a look at these three. I like John's cookies as much as Mary. So at first this may seem okay, but if you give it some thought, what this sentence is literally saying is different from what we think it's saying. So what's actually being compared here is how much I like John's cookies to how much I like Mary. It's saying that I like John's cookies as much as, you can almost imagine in parentheses, as much as I like Mary, but of course that's not what we think it's saying. We think that Mary and I both like John's cookies equally. So what would we have to do to fix this? We'd have to make sure that we make that explicit. So we could add something like does. I like John's cookies as much as Mary does. This is called a comparison error, and it's kind of like a version of parallelism in the sense that when we're comparing two things, we have to make sure we're comparing the same type of things. And the way we do that is we make sure they're in the proper form, that they're in equivalent form. And here what we're comparing is like how much I like John's cookies to how much Mary does. In other words, how much Mary likes John's cookies. Let's look at another example. I think Google's strategy is better than Microsoft. Again, here we're saying literally that Google's strategy is better than Microsoft, the company, whereas we're really supposed to be comparing, for example, strategy to strategy. So one way to fix this is to add '(s), Microsoft's strategy. That would be a totally legit way of fixing this. Now you can kind of see they're parallel. We're comparing the same kinds of things. Another way to fix this is actually just add '(s). So you could say, I think Google's strategy is better than Microsoft's. And it's implied enough that you're comparing strategy to strategy. Another way to fix it is to add that of in front of Microsoft. So you could say, I think Google's strategy is better than that of Microsoft. Now, it sounds a little bit stilted, but it is legal, and the SAT, for whatever reason, likes that. So either adding that of if it's singular, or those of if it's plural, could be a way to make sure you're comparing like to like. Last one, the surface area of Africa is bigger than the United States, China, India, and Eastern Europe combined. Again, we are now literally comparing the surface area of Africa to the United States, China, and India, whereas we should be comparing surface area to surface area. So everything we did previously applies here. So we could say is bigger than the surface area of the United States, China, blah, blah, blah. Or we can even add in as well a that of, right? The surface area of that of United States, China, India. Either way, we're going to be parallel. Make sure, finally, that you're comparing like to like when you've got some kind of comparison. And as I said previously, it's a species of parallelism error. So make sure your phrases are balanced and that the literal meaning matches what the sentence is trying to say.